Coming up on The Source.
What's going on? We get on the air every week, and we're trying our best to just share and highlight.
They're getting together, and they're going to have meetings about what they're going to do to sign it. He didn't sign it. He let it go in, so it was no veto needed. He just said, talk about this.
The vice president.
She's a West Coast black person?
Yes.
I never heard that.
He's from the West Coast.
Let me have it.
She identifies as black?
Yes.
To hear
For $20,000 more,
I don't see that as an issue. So
drive too.
Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
Tanae Darby.
And welcome to The Source. Today, we're going to do something a little different. You see me coming on now at this hour where normally it's Coffee with Curry. But many of you have called us and been calling and saying, I didn't even know you had a Source show, a news show to talk about the latest news in and around the city of Wilmington. Well, yes, we do. It comes on at 5 o'clock every Sunday. So what we're going to do for the next week or so, we're just going to play this and that at the same time, meaning at the 5 o'clock and at the 10 o'clock hour. I believe that's when this show comes on. I don't want you to think that it's a double whammy, but I want you to know that we do want you to know that we are out there trying to get the latest information so that you can be informed and have a voice. Well, listen, the first thing I want to talk about is just talking about voices is I believe, and it's up to you all if you want to agree, that Delaware needs an inspector general. I was going to say Inspector Gadget. Inspector General. But we need one because some of the things that we're going through and the heartaches that we have to go through, we wouldn't have to if we had someone who can really investigate the corruption that's going on in some of these executive offices.
So why don't we have an Inspector General?
Yeah.
So it's been talked about in various different forms. I think back in the day, people thought that there was no need for an Inspector General because we had the AG's office who you could file a complaint with the AG for your request with the AG. They have a fraud hotline as well too. You have a state auditor who looks and audits the books and everything. So they really didn't see the need for an Inspector General.
Yeah, and before you go any further, so does Pennsylvania, so does New Jersey, so does Maryland, so does all those other places that have an Inspector General. They have all of those offices you just named. Why is it that we felt?
Well, first off, I'm not down in Dover. I agree with y'all. I think we should have one, but that was the thinking back in the day. The thinking has changed down in Dover now. We have State Senator Laura Sturgeon, who has introduced a bill. She introduced it last session.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that bill is coming back this year if it hasn't been introduced already.
Okay.
And she's working with Representative Mike Smith, who's a Republican from the Pike Creek area. So it's a bipartisan bill, which is a very good start. Representative John Kowalko had talked about this for a long time, and he worked with Delaware Coalition for Open Government, who believes that Inspector General is critical to just the overall well-being of the state. Again, Inspector General's office, just to break it down a little bit more, would create an independent office to investigate wrongdoing by state agencies.
Yeah.
They would be, quote unquote, the watchdog of our public dollars, making sure they're not being spent wrong, making sure there's not corruption. It's supposed to be free of political influence.
So is the seat appointed or is it an elected seat?
Well, that's the thing. It's been talked about both ways. How do you keep it free of political influence if it's elected, right? Do you make it a nonpartisan race so no one runs on party lines? But even that, you
That
look at
doesn't matter.
school board, people still run on party lines
doesn't
without their party next to their name.
And then
So
appointmentship, who appoints?
it would probably be the governor.
And that could right there still be
Exactly.
subjective and partisan.
Absolutely. Now, but I heard you say something I wasn't aware of. So you saying Inspector General is only for state agencies?
Yes. Well, for government agencies, yes.
So it wouldn't be able, like if the mayor, if the city has a,
that's government.
okay, I
as well,
just
too.
sometimes I ask
Them
questions.
included.
But sometimes I ask questions because I want our audience is just saying, well, does this mean this, that, or the other? I want to make sure we're clear that all public offices can be what's the word I'm looking for? Can be when you investigated for wrongdoing and corruption and things of that nature. I didn't mean to keep cutting you off, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same point.
And in other states they've had this, right? This is I'll use Louisiana as an example. Louisiana, they have the power to subpoena records, whereas instead of having to go through the FOIA process. When you go through the FOIA process, because of how our laws are set up here, someone could just say no and that's suffice, or they could send you a document and redact pretty much everything, which has happened before, right?
Yes.
This would be able to give a one-stop shop to be able to get all those records and actually comb through it with professionals who know what they're looking for.
Yeah, we need one. Some of the things that we are arguing about, I mean, it's just unbelievable that we have to find attorneys outside of the state to come in to help us out to deal with some of the things that's going on, whether it be the mayor's office, whether it be the county's office, the state. It's just too much, and I think the politicians have figured it out. We do what we want to do, and it doesn't matter because they can't afford to take us. They can't afford to litigate us because we'll use public dollars to go against them to cover up all the scams and the things that they're doing.
And the bill that's coming probably in mid-May, in that bill, they currently have it as a appointed position to a 5-year term. So it would probably roll over into a new governor's term. But the governor, whoever the governor is when it's signed, will get to appoint the position.
And I'm not going to worry so much about it being appointed because, to be honest with you, even if it's appointed and we know that there's some corruption going on and they have not investigated it right, we have a voice that we can then cry out and say to the governor, say to whoever, this person has to be removed. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes being appointed is not as bad because I know they're going to be influenced regardless. This is Delaware, and you can't even get a good lawyer in Delaware because they're all part of the system.
Yeah.
You have to go outside in order to get some legal counsel that not for every lawyer in Delaware. I don't want to say that and make people feel bad about me, but for the most part, they all drink coffee together at their certain coffee shop. But I want to go for a little bit further with that before we move off of that. So where is this bill now? I heard you say some of it, but just tell me, where is the bill now that you know of?
Yeah, so the bill is in the early drafting stages right now, and they're looking to get it out in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully, it will be pre-filed, and that will start the discussion. It's either going to go to the Senate Executive Committee or the Senate Judiciary Committee, and once they have their open committee on it, public hearing on it, I encourage people to listen in, and if you feel compelled to also give public comment. But that's going to start the process here.
Well, one of the things, even if they can't listen in and can't give public comments, we're going to hold our senators, our representatives accountable. This is needed in the state of Delaware. There are 37 states in this country that have a Inspector General's office. We do not. Maybe back in the day when it was the good old boys, nobody could say anything and do anything. They didn't care. But I cannot see one of our representatives or one of our senators saying, nah, that's nothing we want. We want to vote a nay on that, because that would create a catastrophe for whomever decide they're not going to support that. It's too much going on. We get on the air every week and we're trying our best to just share and highlight and it's just not, things are just not getting done the way it needs to get done. Anything else on that?
No, that's all.
Well, and speaking of that, since we are right here in the middle of needing a inspector general for the state of Delaware that we may deal with some of the corruption, many of you, and I want to say thank you because you encouraged me. I got so many emails. I got so many phone calls, all good, thanking us for bringing to the front the FOIA a violation that happened in the city council. We haven't done a lot of talking on it because I'm just watching and waiting to see how things are going to turn out. But it's good, and it shows the power of the media when they report stuff, how people respond. And the callers I got, it shocked me because about 40% of the callers I got and people who responded to me were not African Americans. They were Caucasians, and it shocked me because I'm thinking that it was only us who would be affected by some of these decisions, but they were outraged. They were outraged about a lot of things. One woman called and she left a voicemail so long I had to call her back because I was interested in hearing some of the other things that she was concerned about, finding out she's concerned about the same things that we are. The corruption in the city council, she feels, is just unbelievable. I'm not gonna put you on the spot.
We're going to talk a little bit about that.
But she just is unbelievable. So where are we with the foyer right now, if you don't mind? Where are we right now with the city council?
Right. So the ruling from the Attorney General office basically states that all three of the appointmentships, so the appointmentship for Councilmember Mills, Councilmember White, and Councilmember Bracy were all done illegally. It was a violation of FOIA. What happened was we went into executive session, which is a private where no one is public, and we're supposed to give people identifiers in that session. We gave them identifiers, and then Councilmember Harley, the lead on this, decided that she did not want to vote in public, and she convinced other council people and were able to get enough votes for us to stay in executive session to do the vote in executives, making it a private vote and not a public vote, right? So what the Attorney General office said is that what we did with all three of them was a violation, but since the Councilmember Mills was over a year, we cannot redo that vote. So we have to redo the vote for Councilmember White and Councilmember Letitia Bracy. Now, we're not going to be accepting any new applications. We're going to go with the candidates who applied for the first district and then for the at-large seat and redo the votes in public. So we'll probably go into executive session. We'll have a committee of the whole meeting, probably go in executive session like we should have, and just give identifiers to candidate 1, 2, and 3, come out and then say, I vote for 2 and 3, 1 and 3, or 1, whatever your vote is, you'll come out and say it in public. So that is what's going to happen. City council we have to do those votes over. It's about accountability.
Yeah, and this thing I'm concerned about, Kobe, is now that these people are in the seat, they're going to say to all their friends who they lied to, I'm supporting you. Who they said, hey, I'm going to support you because you're the best candidate for the job. They're going to be able to go back and lie again and say, well, they were already in the seat, so I just voted just because of that. No, we want you, we hope, and we call on city council members to vote the way you voted during the hidden illegal process. I know how they're going to cover it up because that's the reason why they went to go. I'm a little shocked that Harley. I thought we were friends, and I'm going to have a conversation with her because I don't want to be deceived. I thought she was a friend of mine, and I would hope that she was not. I'm just not believing that part. That part I can't receive from you. But let's go back to. I know you were one of the candidates at some point. If you think they're going to go back and say, well, we're gonna vote the way we really did vote, and say that's the way I really voted, it ain't gonna work that way.
It's not. They're gonna finesse this.
Oh yeah.
They're getting together now with their illegal meetings.
Yes.
They're getting together and they're going to have meetings about what they're going to do to save face at the next meeting when we redo this vote. I'm gonna vote the same way I voted. I don't even need an identifier. I think it's okay to say who you voted for. We're not voting like Councilmember Harley would try to argue is that when we go and vote on election day, we go into the booth and it's a private matter. But we're elected officials. We're at a different standard.
That's right.
But we're not voting for ourselves. We're voting for the public. So the public needs to know, right? So those are the things that bothers me about the city council is they're so unethical. They lack basic morals and they act like they are moral, but they're not.
Well, I'm learning some things and I'm going to continue to learn, which brings up the question: should we should you sponsor legislation, or it may not be a legislation, but it's something to send down to Dover? Why are they voting on this? This is how corruption happens. Why not call a special election every time a seat is open?
So back in June of 2022, last year, we did send a resolution, but we did it at a time where it was the end of the legislative session. So we didn't really have anyone to pick up the legislation for us. And I want to say it's due to the lack of professional interactions that city council has with the state elected officials. So a lot of
get done what they want to get done.
They do get done what they want to get done. So it was really, we just voted, it went down there and nothing happened, right? So we have to build our relationships with our state elected officials and they have to be willing to introduce that piece of legislation. But we already agreed as a council that we don't want to be a part of this process. So that's one thing.
That would be a blessing.
That would be a blessing. I don't trust them. They're not going to make good decisions. That's for the public. And I'm being honest. I said this on the floor already. I do not trust them to make decisions that are good for the public. They have these secret meetings and they make decisions that are good for them and their connection to either the administration or whoever may be that finances their campaigns.
Well, can I just say this then? Maybe we talk to our senators. And I'm always looking at you because you were a candidate, and I don't want to put Kobe in this. Our senators and our representatives, and we need to figure out who will carry this water to Dover, and we need it done. Because the reality of it is, this is how corruption happens. Had they had an issue like a system like they have in normal places, we would have known. Because guess what? The people would have voted. As for the district, some of the people who got appointed.
And then what also scares me about that needs to change in the code or charter or whatever it is that actually the Democratic Party could potentially, if we go special election route, I don't trust the Democratic Party either. Never been a fan of them.
Mm-hmm.
But and
Democrats, so be careful. Because I can hear somebody saying, "But you're a Democrat." Yeah,
but I'm not the party.
Yeah, okay.
Not a fan of them. I think they're just as bad as city council.
Okay,
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care.
My buddy here is a vice president.
I really don't care, honestly.
I'm the vice chair of the state.
I really don't care, honestly.
I think you're talking about the city party.
Yeah, I can only speak for the city. I never interacted with the state, but the city is yeah, and the people are part of it. But the issue for me is that the Democratic Party would then get to select who that person is who's going to go up for that seat. The public doesn't get to choose what special. So we need to change the way special elections are done across the state.
Wow.
Anyway, because what happens is that's what happened with the seat. What's his name? He was on city council and then he moved up.
Nnamdi.
Not Nnamdi's seat. It was someone else's seat. The guy who stole it, who shot.
So there's been multiple. So that's Gerald Brady.
Gerald Brady, and then that old city council guy. What's his name again?
Campbell Hayes.
Mm-hmm. No, the one who tried to put up eminent domain with Nnamdi. They gave it to him first, and then they gave it to a black guy.
Bud Frill. Bud Frill. How that process worked.
That
when Gerald Brady resigned, his state house seat, there was a nomination process
from the Democratic Party.
Everyone who's a part of that RD, who's in the Democratic Party, which is the vast majority of that district's in the city, was in the city. It's changed now. They're the ones who got to select who they wanted to represent them. So they selected who the Democratic nominee would be.
That's not good.
For them, and they selected Bud Frill over Adrian.
Yeah, that has to change too, because all of this is rapid. It's still going to be who the person wants. And if you're cool with the Democratic Party, then you automatically get in.
Yeah, and people are part of the Democratic Party helped with that coup that happened on January 5th in 2021. They helped with the coup. There were people who helped plan that, who were a part of the Democratic Party, who sit on leadership boards. And
wow.
So they're all integrated.
Well, I don't know what to say. It's like we live in this little state and this little city, and we are trying our best to get a voice, get people to do the right thing. We have people, and the mayor is doing a phenomenal job. If you never heard me speak well of the mayor, can I just take a moment so that, because his people are always watching, and he watches too, but he act like he doesn't, and say, look, the mayor, you're doing a phenomenal job with your regentrification. You're moving, you're causing the poor folks to go to Newark and go everywhere else, and you're building all these luxury apartments. You're doing a phenomenal job. No one sees it because you're doing such a phenomenal job. We see down at the riverfront how you got this, you're getting ready to open up this new luxury here in Southbridge. You got another big luxury one happening. Great job. And they will come back later when they find themselves with no voice and say, Pastor Curry, we should have listened to you. But I'm saying to you, it's not fair. And it's certainly not right. And if you pay attention, it's going to open. I saw in the paper, the one down there next to ShopRite. They don't have stores in there.
It's gonna be really nice. Yeah, I'm excited to ride by it every day.
Yeah, and some of your city council people live down there too. I just found out too, but I ain't gonna go no further because I don't want to get you all riled up. You becoming the what's his name? The J Street of the city.
BJ Street.
You don't do cussing. You're not old enough to cuss yet.
Old enough to cuss yet.
You do everything else, but you cannot cuss. But I will say to you that I'm watching it. I'm watching all those apartments downtown.
Well, here's the thing: they're very confused. The people who are benefiting from that, this mayor's administration, they believe this is what a city needs, which is true. A city needs growth, but you need revitalization, not gentrification.
Yeah.
And they're not understanding that part. They're trying to change the dynamics of the city and make it for people who haven't lived here traditionally or haven't lived here in a long time. It's too many people that look like us living in this city right now. And they may call me radical for saying that, but here's the thing. This city council is the blackest it's ever been. And it's the blackest they ever will be.
Women.
Throws my mind. It's like usually when black women get on something, it's spectacular because we amazing. Black girl magic. But this city,
she got two tongues. Go ahead.
I can't. I'm so disappointed that it's all black women, most majority black women, and we're not making moves.
It's a lot of magic there. Hocus pocus. Abracadabra.
Like,
Make you think we're doing good, but we're not.
like you would think that we would be doing, like, we should be leading in the state in a lot of conversations. We should be passing progressive things. We are
Sounds like you would need a vision for that. And if I remember correct, there was a council person who said that you had too much vision, too many ideas.
Yeah.
Just shut them all down.
Right?
Yeah.
But isn't that what you ran for? Isn't that what you're there to be a voice for your community?
And have ideas,
So that the
thoughts,
city can go forward in a way that empowers everyone. It seems as though, it's very sad to watch this city flip. And watch whole neighborhoods be completely uprooted and forgotten about. And then other neighborhoods completely changed, a complete 180.
But you know what the problem with us is? We get these chicken dinners and being hoodwinked.
they could,
and they're able to share some, and all of our leaders. It does. I'm not going to be 80% of my church is women, so I'm not going to say too much about women. Although that's why I'm successful today, because I have some strong Black women who really keep things rolling and doing great things.
we do.
But this is a lot of them have been bought, and this is why our communities are just falling apart. I felt bad, and I don't mean to bring up the issue that was going on with our senior housing, because we get a nice plan that's getting ready to go to the city and it's going to be wonderful. But the point is, you got Hanifa, who really galvanized 2 or 3 people. And then you got even the state rep. I was really shocked that he jumped in. I don't say names, but I'm shocked because I thought these people were decent people. And they bring people together to make sure that they stop a project that will help poor seniors. Not because they don't want to help poor seniors, I think. It's really because they didn't like me. So you would hurt seniors of something that we're trying to do just because you don't like a person.
Welcome to Wilmington. Welcome to Wilmington.
I think you're giving too much credit to those 2 people, and I know we're not going to name them right now, but
I'll name them.
I don't think, me personally, I don't think they're politically savvy enough to think that way. I think there is one man who is sitting up on the 9th floor.
Oh yeah.
Who understands business. I'm going to give him his props. He understands business. He understands development, but he understands it from a business, capitalist, corporate mindset.
Okay.
And that's what's happening right now.
But he tells them what to do. That's why you're right. They don't have the intellectual curiosity to be able.
You do what you are told, or you're fired. That's how corporate America works.
And people may say, well, they don't work for him. Yes, they do. Because they're connected in different ways. We're going to talk about some ethic biology.
Say, oh, this is my council. I own them.
He don't own me.
I own them.
I
just want to say, he said, I own them.
Need your one vote. I don't need your one
vote.
vote.
But he don't own me.
But here's the thing. No one is saying some of their talking points are just that, talking points. Because I agree with them. No one wants to see blighted properties, blighted structures, severely distressed public housing. Right? We all agree
on
that the public housing sector in the city of Wilmington is in horrible condition.
Yeah.
We can all agree that we are at a shortage of rental units in the city of Wilmington. But what we don't agree on is how to fix that problem.
Yeah.
Raising the price? Oh, well, inflation. No, the price was going up already. The fact is, Wilmington had one of the highest jumps, not in Delaware, not on the East Coast, in the entire nation during the pandemic, a rental increase. There was people who come into my office all the time who had a rent increase of almost $400 a month. Because their landlord is greedy, and they're trying to keep up with the other development going on around the city.
Yeah.
So when you bring in an apartment building and you're charging $1,700 for a studio, and all you do is overlook the west side, then that doesn't make sense to me. But guess what? That other landlord next to him and say, oh, well, I can bump my prices up too.
And that's exactly what's going on. And that's why we talk about gentrification. We're really saying that all the other folks are going to be pushed out, or they'll put them in one little section represented by one little city council person. They'll already put you in charge of that council. And then they'll have all the rest of it. Everything's going to get changed. There's going to be a strong changing and a strong shifting. And I just feel bad, but that's why I gave him his props. I mean, he look, I don't hate on a person when their agenda is being fulfilled. And some people don't hide it, but it's the cronies that he has who got trust in this community is what's bothering me. There are people who trust Hanifa Shabazz. They trust her, even though she's been indicted or not. She ain't go to jail. No, right, she's just been indicted, but not go to jail. Okay, they trust. Some people trust her, and I can name other people who they trust.
The fact that he was a Republican, switched to Democrat just to win right there, Black folks, just kills me that they support him.
Yeah.
I'm like, He doesn't even align with your Democratic Party
And you can
values.
see
Like,
it in everything that is going on. But you know what? He also got some people up on the ninth floor that needs to be dealt with too. So I'm going to look forward to this mayor race because I don't understand
and
how
the
they.
big piece is a black woman.
Well,
Biggest mouthpiece.
well, she tried to keep y'all calm. But you got
That's calm.
All I'll say is Mike Pazicki has been a Democrat. He was on county council as a Democrat. He is a Robert Byrd Democrat. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't even know what that means. I'm like you, whoever just said it on TV. I don't know what that means. What does that
Just
mean?
look
Robert
up Robert
Byrd.
Byrd. He was a U.S. senator
Uh-huh.
from West Virginia
Yeah.
who held the floor
Yeah.
so that we could not could not end segregation.
Right.
He believed that when it comes to public housing, that it's best to build up for a certain culture.
Right.
And if you can't afford to be in that culture, then you have to go.
Yeah. Well, so in other words, he's just a Democrat on paper. But he has an agenda that will always stop all of the Democratic philosophies. So we're gonna let that be what it is. We have one more item we want to cover, but hats off to you, Brother Mayor. Pastor Curry said it. Hats off to you. You got it going on. You're doing a good job with fooling the folks, but you ain't fooling everybody. All right, and you ain't buying everybody. Some people, it's a shame because you could have. Matter of fact, I know we got to get out of here, but you could have more scholarships for your children if you just listen.
You could even have an apartment downtown. Right there, down.
Somebody got we ain't gonna say no more, but oh my God, people get apartments down the riverfront,
Yeah, they get
and then in that district. Okay, well, I just heard about that, and I'm kind of concerned about that.
Apartment.
So you gonna succumb? Come on, and succumb.
Nah,
right on TV. Say I yield. Go kiss the ring. Go up on the ninth floor. Kiss
I
that.
got $90,000 in student loans, so I need that paid. They can pay off my
they'll do it for
and
you.
cover all my kids' college.
I guarantee you.
And
They can do it. They can do it. If you just chill out. We're gonna move on.
Think about it.
You're too hard. I'm agreeing with the other
We need an inspector general.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I'm kind of agreeing with the other city council persons. You just too much. Okay, we just can't deal with you. And last thing I want to just real quickly, and I know you were interested in this as well. The community response and body cam released of the shooting. Let's just spend a minute talking about that a little bit.
Yeah. So with the community response team, I talked about being in conversation with the mayor administration and our current police chief on establishing one. I got the partnership with the national organization. They said $40,000, found a grant. It's covered. No cost to us. The mayor administration and police chief are saying, we don't want to do this.
Oh, wow. They still saying that?
They're still saying that. They want to focus on developing community engagement teams of police officers. So they want to put more funding into this program to make police more community centered, which I think is an oxymoron because as a police officer, you should naturally just be a community public safety person. So the fact that you even got to train people even more to do community engagement within the public safety sector is concerning, right? So now, okay, we're going to have our community engagement team. They want to put money and pump it into that. But there are instances that police officers just aren't trained or don't have the background to handle. So looking at the most recent, I think it was April 12th, I can't remember the exact day, but there was a call for suicidal ideation of a guy, an older male over in South Bridge. Police responded. They said the guy was stabbing himself. He's going through a mental health crisis. And we have police only responding to these situations. And then they say that the guy charged after them with a knife. So out of all the weapons on their waist,
only one that works.
The only one that works is a gun.
Yeah.
So the guy is alive. He was in critical condition in the hospital. I don't know if he's been released or not yet. I probably need to look that up to give people an update. But what's unfortunate is that we need to have people responding to these type of situations who are trained, and then to use a gun. You couldn't use a taser.
Right.
You couldn't use any.
The thing that you hit it out of his hand.
Thing to hit it out of his hand. Y'all go straight for a gun. I'm in the National Guard in the Army, and they teach us how to shoot. And we learn, just like police, center mass. If I shoot you, I'm going straight for your chest because that's all I'm trained to do.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going for a death kill.
Yeah.
Right. So they're going for a death kill of citizens, of people in a mental health crisis, and then thinking about the guy. If they were yelling out commands to him, when you're going through a mental health crisis,
understand that.
None of that matters.
Right.
You could be speaking English to them. They don't understand what you're saying.
Right.
All he's thinking of is death if it was suicidal. Right. So we need to make sure we're responding. So I have a resolution that's going to go up to encourage the administration to support it. So we're going to have city council vote on this. I need to see how they stand on developing this community response team. Some of them are very well aware of me talking to the administration, us getting the grant, the $40,000. They're very aware. So I need them to help me encourage the administration to do it. Now we don't need the administration to do it. So what we're going to do is we're still going to go ahead with the assessment. We're just going to have to file a lot of FOIAs and do a lot of begging and emails for them to answer us and to be able to give us the information we need so that the assessment can happen. And then out of this assessment, they'll tell us, you know what, your community response team should consist of 2 social workers and a mental health person. Like, they'll tell us what we need based on the data that they collect about our city. And they're going to be meeting with community people. They'll be meeting with city council people. They want to meet with the police chief. They want to meet with the mayor administration. So I need them to participate to make this assessment 100% so that we get what we need out of this assessment for our city. And I've been asking for the body cam release of what happened so I can see what happened. I just want to know what happened, right? And I've been told, based on the police body camera policy, the police chief is the only one who can release it. So I sent out an email asking him to release it. His response back is that he does not want to release it at this time. He's working with other entities and organizations on an investigation. He can release it. Now he's trying to use excuses to why he isn't releasing it. He can release that raw, unedited footage of what happened. He can do
Have you
that
talked
today.
to the city council person that's in charge of this district, the 4th district?
Have I spoken to her? No, I have not spoken to
I'm
her.
going to tell you why. I know you, because you're too much of a professional to worry about personal concerns. I think you should, because you got to put everybody on record that you are work, because that's one of the charges they even have against you, is that you don't work with the people in the district. You just go doing things like your city council person at large. And I'm saying you need to give her a call and let her respond. If she says no, then you need to make that clear.
Right. So that's what we're doing. So I'm asking who wants to move forward with the assessment.
But I'm talking about even with the because I heard
Release of the
body cam piece, because that's most important. And also I want to say that I know we're out of time for this segment, but I just want to say this, and if anybody want to jump in, they can. But I, as a pastor, have been noticing, and I'm a believer in medication. I'm a believer in doctor and science. While I know the Lord can deliver us from everything, but that just like if I have a cold, I'm not going to just pray on it. I'm going to take Tylenol for colds and things of that nature. But I've been noticing for the last couple of years, mental health has really been hitting our community and hitting it in a very, very serious way. Many people who watch us, you have relatives, you have grandchildren, you have children, you have parents, you have people who are not strung out on drugs, but mentally they're not well and they need the help. They won't always take the meds and things of that nature. One of the things that Shanae just said kind of triggered in me, and I don't want to get on here and try to be the pastor and things of that nature, but we got to take mental health serious. So many things happen when a person is going through an episode. You can be saying stop. You can be saying things that are reasonable to a person who is not having an issue or a crisis, that in their world at that moment when they're going through what they're going through, they just have a different whole reality, and shooting them, killing them, creating more problems for them is not the solution. Having a program like she's saying, it will help put people in our community to help deal with some of these crises. It should not be the only way we can calm a black person down who's having a mental crisis is to shoot them. That is unacceptable. And we have to start dealing with it. So I took this moment to say to those of you who are watching us, you have relatives, I have relatives, I have members who are part of this community and church too, who are really struggling. Some don't know they need the help. Some won't take the medicine, some will. As a matter of fact, all of us got a little mental illness.
We do.
And for those of you who act like you're so perfect in your mind, we all got a little something going on. And some of us take our meds and some of us don't. But the reality of it is, and for those of you looking at me saying, well, I wonder if you take your meds. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. My meds is the word, though. But I just ask that you, to be all serious, I ask that you please take this serious. I'm not even going to joke about that. This is serious. It's happening in all of our communities. We'll be right back. We're not going to do that last piece, okay? And we're back. Well, what's going on with Shanae's Scoop this week?
Yeah, so I know I wanted to start off with Councilmember Spadola's nepotism legislation.
Okay.
So a few Thursdays ago, it was up for a vote. And basically what he's looking to do is prohibit members of council from hiring close relatives of current city council. So this is maybe a spouse, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad. So those close relatives. This is not your third cousin down the line or your niece or your nephews. This is your immediate family who are being hired on city council. So currently, I don't think we have any issues with that currently on city council where there's like someone who's a close relative and a city council person. But I do agree with Councilmember Spadola on this piece of legislation because I think it's important to put safeguards up to hold city council accountable for their actions. They could do whatever they want. If they wanted to and had enough votes, they can appoint their spouse to be our secretary,
Right.
elite legislative aid.
Right.
And I think that's wrong. And I don't trust the city council, honestly, for them to make important decisions. And what also, a lot of people didn't support it. It didn't pass out. Some of them were saying like another group, the NAACP came out to speak about against this legislation, right? And all the other things to come and speak out about, you come for this. But a whole nother thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But and they come out opposing it, and one not even stating accurate facts because this has nothing to do with people outside of city council. This is strictly just city council employees, city council who will be impacted, and city council employees. This was not for the whole city. This was not about cousins and aunties. This is solely about holding the integrity of the city council, and we should be held at a higher standard. So that happened. So I'm in support of this legislation still. I hope that it comes back in another form, and I think it really hits on a lot of the ethics violations that have been happening lately on city council where they're not truthful or moral people.
Oh, wow.
So
I'm gonna let you have that one because I don't want to get you riled up. Your next item is gonna rile us all.
So it kind of even goes into the next thing where Councilmember Xanthia Oliver was reprimanded by the Ethics Commission for voting in favor of her brother nonprofit receiving grant money, federal grant money, in regards to building housing for people.
Who's her brother?
Her brother is Norman Oliver.
Oh,
yes, and Norman Oliver has a nonprofit called Our Youth Incorporated. He is the CEO and president, and he's a developer, a contractor. So he gets contracts from the city. I don't know how much, how many, but what I am aware of is that when I was a city council person last March, I realized there was a HUD complaint or a HUD violation investigation that happened.
Yeah.
They investigated our federal money. They found out that we had to, because of the violations, we as taxpayers are now responsible for paying that federal grant money back.
Yeah.
I
talked a lot about that when he was on.
Yes, I wasn't aware that Our Youth Incorporated was even connected to Norman Oliver. When I sat down with Councilmember, bless her heart, Councilmember Gray, we sat down and started investigating. We start pulling up information like who owns Our Youth Incorporated. We start asking questions. Why aren't they paying the money back?
Right.
Why do the taxpayers have to pay the money back? And the HUD allowed for a time for public comment, and you were able to write in a letter stating your position on it, what you think should happen. So I made a public comment and I submitted a letter via email to HUD stating that I don't think the taxpayers have to pay this back. They should hold the entity, Our Youth, accountable who actually messed up and mishandled the funds, right? So they should be held accountable. And that there was also ethics commission complaint put in because I felt like people were aware of where the money was going and voting on it who was related to Norman Oliver. So then that was put in a year later. The investigation is now complete. So that's what we see is from the HUD complaint of me, and I'm going to be frank, of me submitting that this is unethical, that we have council people who have relatives, close relatives, a brother who is gaining and having, has a special interest, a personal or private interest in regards to how they were voting. And I think more investigation needs to be done to figure out, is that person, that council person receiving a 1099? Is how connected is this person to this organization? I think more investigation needs to be happening. People need to be held accountable. City council people think they can do things because they don't think that the community is paying attention and that you guys know what to do to hold them accountable. Y'all come to the public, to the meetings, the city council meetings. Y'all say y'all 3-minute public comment. After that, they're not thinking about y'all. Y'all have to hold them accountable and start contacting the ethics commission, start contacting the attorney general's office to hold city council accountable. That includes me.
That's right.
I am not exempt from that. Everyone should be held accountable. I am not okay with this. I am not okay with anyone being able to vote for money knowing that they have a public or private interest for it.
Now, when you all have, just to make sure that we are being fair, when you all have y'all training every year or new council members, do y'all have a training to talk about ethics and things like that?
Yes. As soon as I was a city council person, there's an ethics training, and there's a form we have to fill out every year.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot remember what it's called, but it's a full disclosure about your whole entire life. Literally, if you have any debt, if you sit on a board,
Mm-hmm.
if you're getting paid by any other jobs. It's a form we fill out every year as city
Was
council
that on her
people.
form?
I didn't even ask for her form,
Yeah.
but that's something that could be requested because that is public information, and I think it's actually already public somewhere once we fill out this form, and it's pretty much all of our information. I remember filling it out. I was like, darn, what else y'all want to know about me? Like, I had to list my nonprofits, all the boards I sat on, who I was related to, if I would had any credit card debt. Like, they go into your fiscal, they go into all of your business. There's no way
Yeah.
that we are taught not to do this.
Yeah, I see why they don't like you, because you read. And they don't like people who read. They want dummies.
Or with ideas.
Or without, yeah. Well,
They don't want you to read or
so,
provide ideas.
so that we won't downplay this, I'm gonna be very honest with you. This is a little disheartening. I got quiet because I can't believe that you would have people who are city council persons in districts that are really going to shams, and they are enriching themselves, and that's not good.
And this is only for the HUD money. All I did was put it.
Yeah.
Imagine the other money.
Yeah, and I
that's
see a lot
going
of
to
development with certain names on it going on in cities in the city and around in different districts. I do now. Stuff is starting to ring, and I hope y'all paying close attention, because we're going to get into some of this a little bit later, not in this show, but as we continue to do our research, people are starting to take us more serious than they need to. I mean, than they have done in the past. But that's one violation, and we may come back to that one. You had a couple more things you wanted to share.
And so I'm surprised this wasn't on Colby's list,
Yeah.
right? So recreational.
Well, he doesn't do that, the city stuff. He's an international person.
Oh, she's talking about the marijuana passing.
Oh,
We talked about it.
It
We-
passed. No, we
it
talked
is
about it
officially-
about to pass.
Right. It is
It's
officially
official now.
Yeah.
Because it's official. It is recreational
As
marijuana.
of this past Saturday.
oh, Jesus help.
It is
Yes.
legal here in the state of Delaware, and then now HB2, which is the regulation, the taxing, the licensing and stuff like that. They're in the process of establishing that now.
Yeah.
I can go to the corner store and get me a bag of weed.
Well,
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh my goodness.
But I think what needs to be done.
Well, you got to be 21.
well, I'm that age.
Well, we know.
You look young.
Okay.
You no, but now the part that I care about the most, right? I don't smoke.
equity
I
part.
don't do weed.
Yeah.
The equity part.
Yeah.
I think that there's a fund set up already to go back into the community, but I think these businesses that are getting these licenses need to set up foundations, a part of them, and put at least 25% of their profit into these foundations and offer grants to the community. That is what one of the founders of Ben and Jerry's doing up in Vermont, to give back to the community. Now, Vermont isn't too black.
Yeah.
They're like 96% white.
Yeah. That's why they willing to do certain things.
I want to see that done here.
Yeah.
And if it, means that I have to pull a group of people together to work on that, I will. But this was the first step. The first step was to make sure that our community is no longer hindered by this policy that has been has been predatory to Black and brown communities, especially Black men.
Yeah.
And now let's start working.
The only legislation side of it is where you are most concerned.
Yeah.
How they've been executed.
The equity part of it
Yeah,
is
right.
key.
So for those of you who are hearing this, even though I'm totally against it, but I'm not against that part though. I think that we have been overcharged for violating the drug laws and the marijuana laws. But please Google effects of marijuana on the body. Please Google it. From impotency, for those of you who think you stallions, to mental problems that goes on with children you may have. All of that matters. So don't just go be loose. Just like cigarettes cause cancer, you don't want to be loose with that. And that's all I'm
Too much
saying.
alcohol would be poison.
And I'm against all of it.
cancer, alcohol,
All of it. I don't drink. And I know it's hard to believe.
No more
Pastor,
deep
but you
frying
do that stuff.
turkeys.
Okay, I do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I eat deep
But
fried turkey.
I'm not saying stop doing that either.
sign it. He didn't sign
He
it.
let
Let
it-
it go in. So it was no veto needed. He just said, I'm not in support of this. He
Right.
opposed it, but he said he can't stop it anymore because he know
Yeah.
that the votes was coming for him.
Okay.
Like
We was coming. We was planning now.
they was
Here's
coming.
the thing. Here's the thing. I haven't supported this legislation in the past, so I'll admit to that. But I do want to give a real shout out to the bill sponsor. I've said this maybe 3-4 times now. Representative Ed Ozinski did an amazing job of listening to the community, listening to advocates, and then also working with his fellow legislators to craft a bill, a better bill than previous versions.
And
got
And they even shout out to the organizer Zoe. I think it was like Patchwell. She was
Mhm.
with the Cannabis Network Advocacy, and I had spoke at a few events as a city council person, like in support of this legislation. So I know she was a big person. I know over like a decade she's been trying to do this work and get this passed. So shout out to the community
On
to
the
the
legislative
community
side, I'm with you.
organizers
Yeah.
who are doing the work to get stuff like this passed for our community because
Yeah.
it was needed.
Yeah, and we're out of time, but you had one more item just to announce it, and then we'll move
We'll
on.
talk about it more in depth another time. But I a legislation is currently out in the public now, being discussed, where we're looking to look at skilled labor in the city of Wilmington. So if you are a contractor, a developer looking to get an incentive from the city, you have to have a certain amount of hours worked have to be from people who are from that neighborhood, from the city.
Okay.
Right? They have to be from here. You have to pay them a certain wage, and you have to make sure they're skilled. You just can't hire anybody off the street to do roofing jobs.
Yeah.
So you have to go through one of these union or non-union apprenticeship programs or pre-apprenticeship programs to get Wilmingtonians working. It is so unfair for us to walk by every day these developments that's happening, and everyone in that doing that development, all those construction workers, none of them look like us or from this neighborhood.
Yeah, I got Jersey
Not
Tech.
even from this state.
Right, I said Jersey Tech.
You're from
and
this state,
Pennsylvania.
but they getting our dollars.
Yes, because that's the way they do it. We'll be right back. And we're back. Well, what's going on with the Kobe's Corner?
Yeah, first off, I don't know if y'all saw the news or not, but earlier this week, President Biden and Vice President Harris announced their re-election campaign.
Now, you know what? When I saw that on your list, I know you're ready to talk all your little talk, but there's a lot of stuff going on right now. First of all, they're saying he's too old, and Kamala Harris have not shown herself as being a leader. I want you, instead of your prepared notes, I need you to answer those two questions. Is he or is he not too old? If not, why not? If so, why so? And what's going on with Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris, who I thought was a good person, still do, but try to answer that for our people.
Yeah, so I'll start with the second question first. I think Kamala Harris,
Is it Kamala or Kamala?
Kamala.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Harris is first off, Black people who on East Coast may not always connect with her. She's a West Coast Black person. Where the culture is just different.
You said who? Who we talking about again?
The Vice President.
She's a West Coast Black person?
Yes.
I never heard that.
He's from the West Coast.
Let her have it.
She identify as Black?
Yes.
Okay.
West Coast, she got my husband. So, what? That's West Coast. Okay, go ahead.
I think
I'm
one,
gonna be quiet.
she's in a system, right, that is not used to having Black women in power and such high power.
Okay.
So whereas a white male or a white woman may make decisions, and sometimes it's not the best decisions, she's being held accountable, and she's come out and said that those decisions was wrong. She's wished she could change it. She's worked actively to change the laws,
Part of it.
to do that, right? But here's the thing. When it comes to President Biden, I almost said Obama.
Yeah.
I wish he could run again. But when it comes to President Biden, I don't think he's too old.
Okay.
Listen, I'm not his biggest fan.
Okay.
I'm not saying that he's done everything right. I'm saying that when you look at where we're at in a nation right now, and what he's been able to get done, in a very split and hostile Congress, 50-50 split in the Senate his first 2 years, 51-49 this last year. having the House by only 5 seats in his first 2 years, and now having the minority in the House by 5 seats, it's difficult to get legislation through that way. He's used a lot of executive orders, but I think he has done a lot of good. You look at what he did in the infrastructure bill. You look at what he did in the ARPA bill. You look at what he did in the semiconductors, right? Things that we may not see every day. You look at the Inflation Reduction Act. You look at the fact that he capped prices for insulin, something that us as a people rely heavily on at $35.
Okay.
Insulin was getting up there to be close to $200, $400.
Yeah.
It's the little things like that that I give him credit for. And I wish he had larger majorities in both the Senate and the House so that he could have done more. But when it comes to this election, 2024, I still think he'll be the best option for this nation.
All right, go and move on. HB 25.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just move on.
Y'all ask the question now. I was just gonna announce that he ran.
Okay.
He's running.
Oh, that's
I want him
that's
out all the time.
right. Nobody else.
So here's the thing. HB 125, I think, is one of the most critical bills that I've seen in a long time when it comes to equity in our schools. And that bill is introduced by Representative Sharaya Moore from the Middletown area. The Senator Lockman from Wilmington is the prime sponsor in the Senate. This bill would provide free breakfast and lunch meals to all students because schools qualify for the community, or for the schools that qualify for the community eligibility provisions based on a percentage of students from low income households. And these schools are reimbursed by the Department of Ag using that formula. I think this is huge.
It is.
You cannot really think that a child is going to learn if they're hungry. This goes to a few things also. Kids are bullied in school because of what type of meals they do get.
Right.
If they standardize that across the board, you eliminate that added stress to their mental health, but then also you feel the body to learn.
That's right. Good answers.
In other states, they've done this: Minnesota, Hawaii, New Mexico. It's the new trend that I'm glad to see is coming here to Delaware. So again, as you know, this legislation has been introduced. I think it's been assigned to the House Education Committee. When they have this hearing on it, I need people to show out. I have students who are coming out to speak on it. I have teachers coming out to speak on it. I need residents to come out and speak on this. It's HB 125. I think is one of the more important bills that we're going to see when it comes to education. Even though it has nothing to do with curriculum, this has a critical part in making sure we are helping and aiding our kids succeed in their educational process.
Yeah. Did you go to residency once you get finished with this one?
Yeah. And my last point is the residency, right? So we've talked about it a few times. The city wants to change the residency requirements so that they can fill some of these old positions. I've sat in on some of these budget hearings, whether in person or online, and you've heard directors say, oh, well, we're trying to fill this, but, this is the offer letter. And then you go and you hear council people say, oh, well, we need to do this because they're going to Newark because Newark has no residency. No, Newark is for the same position, same job. They're offering $20,000 more. They do offer a relocation opportunity if you do want to move in. It's not a requirement, but also the benefits are better. Maybe if this administration and council decided to pay these jobs more, people would want to work in them. You wouldn't be complaining about almost 100 jobs being vacant. You don't pay
So
enough.
we have the data to prove that
Absolutely.
right in Newark, which is a smaller town than we are, they are paying more money. You said $20,000 in one case.
Yeah.
I do not see there being an issue with a person driving from Middletown, from Dover to here.
For $20,000 more,
I don't see that as an issue. So
drive too.
I think what they're trying to do is they're just trying, because what I think is going to happen once they get rid of the residency requirement, they're going to up those salaries anyway, because they're going to have their experiences going to go in.
But here's the thing. You can't have people who've never lived in the city of Wilmington, the largest city in the state, don't know what's going on here, be the ones who you're bringing in as department heads, making the decisions, making the recommendations.
Care about us.
You heard the mayor's chief of staff say, oh, well, they just make the recommendation to us, but we make the decision. All right, well, if these the people who are making the recommendation, they should have to spend their time here in the city of Wilmington. And honestly, I think if you are a department head, you should have to live in the city the entire time that you're in that position. Or if you're in any major appointed position, like chief of staff of the city of Wilmington, deputy chief of staff, you should be required to live in the city of Wilmington the entire time you're in that position. If you want to move out, go ahead, you can step down from your job. But you can see how it's impacted. Oh, it's not a big deal for me. Yeah, it's not a big deal for you. You don't live here.
Yep.
And then guess who's going to have to...
That's why the chief of staff for the mayor's office could say that anyone who gets parking tickets are just criminals.
Right.
She said that?
Yes. She said they just like breaking the law because you don't live here. You're not faced with the same things. You can't even comprehend and understand what the community is
Y'all
going
should
through
not lie on
because
this
you
shit.
live in Claymont.
Oh, gee.
But it's funny because that's a talking point you hear from other council people as well.
But now we
too.
all criminals.
But yet, when someone in their family gets in some trouble, they use their position to help get them out. And I just think it's funny that keeps happening. But yet, we're deemed the radical ones for saying that. But it's fine. It's fine for them.
Yeah.
But this is the issue we have right here in the city. Pay people more. And then here's the thing. Once all these people aren't in the city, these extra residents, and we don't have property tax, we don't have the wage taxes and everything, then they're going to say, oh, well, we're going to have to come back and raise your taxes some more.
Oh, they love doing that.
Oh, we're going to do it incremental, even though we've done it 42% since our administration has started. That's how they try to trick people. That's what the talking point this year. And some of the council members, oh yeah, it's only 5%. You've been saying that for the last 7 years. 7 years of saying, oh, it's only 5%.
Sounds like 35% to me. But it's 7 years, 7 times. Okay.
And
So
there's no
they
end
play
in
these
sight
games. It's no end in sight
of the
until
water increase.
there is a new administration in office or a new council that will hold and stand up and hold this mayor accountable for what he is doing and how he's spending our public dollars. But that's all I have here today.
Well, before you go, you ain't gonna go that fast. I need to know, where are they with this bill? Or are they trying to get rid of the residency requirement? Where is that at? Because somebody's asking that question on the show.
It's been introduced. It was on the agenda at one point, and then it was pulled from the agenda. I don't know if they're putting it on at the next meeting or the following.
Where is it? Is it the city council? Or
City council. So it would have to go through city council first and then sent down to Dover as a charter change to change the requirement.
When Hanifa did all of her junk shenanigans with taking the power from the president of the city council, is that something he has to put on the floor, or is that, because I know at one point the council president get to say what goes on the floor?
So council president doesn't have that power right now.
Oh, gee.
It should be the chief of staff.
The chief of staff
who gets to decide what the agenda is. But yes, that was a part of the rule change that happened on January 6th. January 5th. Sorry.
I keep saying it right.
That was the other.
They made all of those changes in an agreement to do what they did with their 7 votes. Took all that power from, and for those of you, listen, I've had my issues with certain people, but you cannot hold Councilman or he's the president of Kansas City Council, Congo, accountable for this council. They took everything but the nickel he had in his pockets.
I hate when council people say that he don't have to do anything with. You were part of the coup.
Yeah,
you
took everything.
Now you want to complain about him?
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, and that's what I want to say, because there are people who watch us, and I want to always be fair. The reality of it is he can't do nothing. But what we got to do is put the right people in so that we can get the city council president's power back. Why didn't he do the same thing to the mayor? I don't understand. Well, they don't do certain things to white people. They just do it to the black folks. But I understand it was the black women that did it. You the one said that earlier, so I'm going to blame you. You probably was one on the code. Y'all voted privately on that one? Was that a public vote? Because I want to find out who voted on it.
There was a public
Look,
vote who did that, but I wasn't a part of that
you
coup.
sure?
I'm sure.
Okay,
I
I
call
want to
them the
make sure.
7 deadly sins. It wasn't me.
Okay, all right. Listen, it's been a good show. We come on every Sunday. Well, we come during the week too. They play our show, to my understanding, during the week as well. But we come on every Sunday. This is the Coffee with Curry slot, and then we also have the slot. But 11 o'clock is the Coffee with Curry, and then we have the source that comes on at 5. And you're seeing this recorded twice because I want to make sure that you get a chance to see what we do during the source. This is a very good show. Listen. It was good being with you today, and I want to say happy birthday to my father who turned 85 years old today. Yesterday, we gave him a party of a lifetime here in Wilmington, but I want to say happy birthday, Dad. You're looking good, you're strong, and we love you. Until the next time, this is Pastor Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
Sinead Darby.
See ya.
Take care, y'all.
Talk soon.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Source. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 5 p.m.